Hi, how are you? You're gonna be sitting right there?
I think so.
All right. With Channel 7, I'm just putting this up there so you actually have something to speak or say that we have that on the record. Anything else, I really don't care about that. Not being here.
It's 2:01.
Everybody.
We're gonna try to get going tomorrow.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon. We're going to come to order. If you all can find a seat or a place to stand. So we're going to go on the record here. My name is Michael McAllister. I'm an attorney at the Department of Energy and Environment. I'm going to be the presiding officer for this afternoon. My function is to ensure that we get folks have an opportunity to submit their comments on the record, and we do that in an orderly fashion, and we hear from everyone who wants to be on the record. So I'm going to call us to order. This is hearing. It is 2:02, Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. This is a public hearing pursuant to Arkansas Pollution Control and Ecology Commission Rule 28209. This is a public hearing for taking comments on the record in the permitting matter involving draft permit AR00533210. We have a large turnout today. We are going to do everything we can to accommodate everyone who wants to get comments on the record. Just a couple of ground rules for how we're going to do that. Again, this is an administrative step in the permitting process being conducted pursuant to Rule 8209, particularly 8209B. For those of you who want to submit oral comments on the record, we've asked that you fill out a comment card. Those were at the door. If you filled one out, they're going to get us up here. We're going to call your name. You can approach the podium, state your name, your mailing address or your email address for the record so we can get notice of things to you and make your comment. Given the number of folks and the number of comments, we're going to have to limit time for that. But please understand you can and are encouraged to submit full comments in writing. So even if you can't say it all at the podium, we want it to be of record. We ask that you submit it. There's slip of paper out there with an email address for you to submit that written comment to. I encourage you strongly to do that. That way we have everything you want to say complete and on the record. And if you will include your name and contact information, and if you can reference the permit number when you submit that emailed comment, that will help us keep everything straight. Now, again, this is strictly for the purpose of receiving additional comments from the public on this permit action. We don't provide responses to your comments in this setting, but the staff takes all the comments received, reviews them, and prepares a response to comments that is included as part of the final permitting decision. And if you have commented on the record, you will be advised of that and able to get and receive and review those responses when the permit decision is issued. This is not an adjudicatory hearing. There's no back and forth. There's no point and counterpoint. It is strictly to take comments on the record. The permit decision is not rendered here. That comes later in the process, but your comments inform that process and that permitting decision. And that's why if you have comments, they're important. They're important to us. I appreciate all of your interest in you being here to participate in the process. Because of the time and the time constraints we're going to have, again, I'm probably going to have to limit each person's time at the podium. A lot of times with a crowd, I try to do 3 minutes. I don't know if 3 minutes per person is going to get us through everybody this afternoon, but we're going to try. I would encourage you that pursuant to 8209, I'm going to try to get comments from everybody that wants to make them, but I may decide to stop receiving comments if they don't serve a useful purpose or if they're cumulative or unduly time consuming. I don't want to do that. If somebody else has already gotten to the podium and said essentially what you want to say, you're free to come up, state your name for the record, say, I agree with what's been already said. I'm submitting written comments at the email address. That will count. You will be a commenter, you will be of record, and you will be part of the process. But it might help move along if we're not overly repetitive with the comments that are made. I hope everyone understands why we need to do that. This is Mr. Alan York in the Office of Water Quality. He's going to be assisting me, helping me keep straight with comment cards, and we're going to start calling folks up. So with that, again, I appreciate your interest, your involvement, and we'll try to get all of your comments on the record. We've got a lot of comments. Let's start with a 2-minute limit. Again, I know that's not enough for all of you to say all of the things you want to say, but it's enough to get you on the record, and you can supplement with your written comments by email, and they will all be of record. Okay, so we're going to start with, let's see, Butch Penny. Mr. Penny, if you'll come up, make sure the green light on that microphone's on. You can press the button. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
My name is Butch Penny, and I have owned land in Roland for about 60 years. I don't like a lot of building, but I don't own the land. And my idea is that whoever owns the land can do what they want with it. I don't like the government telling me what to do with my land, so I don't want other people telling these people what to do with their land. I think he's met all the qualifications that the county put him to taking, and he has done everything he can. And I think that he should be able to allow to be built whatever he wants to build on his land. I don't want him to come and tell me what to build on my land, and I don't want zoning. I don't want to change zoning. I fought the city water department for 3 years, and they still got me anyway. But I don't want some more government interruption. And if I think it's property owner rights, it should be the thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up, we have Hernandez, Mr. Hernandez.
Good afternoon. My name is Danny Hernandez, and I'm a board member with the Maumelle Water Corporation, which owns and operates critical water supply infrastructure located adjacent to Mill Bayou, which is the receiving stream for the proposed wastewater treatment plant we're discussing today. Initially, we sent a letter to ADEQ requesting an impact study to be done. We sent that on September 20th, 2021 to Jeff Lemaster, who's no longer at ADEQ. The constituents of Maumelle Water Corp asked us to draft a letter dated April 27th, 2022. I'll read it for you really quickly. On April 26th, Maumelle Water Corp held a meeting, and I'll skip that. First, we'd like to provide a little history. We first sent a letter of concern to ADEQ to Jeff Lemaster on September 20, 2021. Emailed it to him on September 22nd, 2021, requesting an impact study to be done regarding the proposed wastewater treatment plant, explaining the effect it could have on an aquifer and in turn our well, which supplies our system with drinking water. Mr. Lemaster responded the same day, stating he would share this with our leadership and follow up with a formal response in the coming days. By March of 2022, after some research, we learned that Mr. Lemaster is no longer with ADEQ. And on March 16th, our letter of concern was forwarded to Brian Lehmans with requests for him to respond verifying the receipt of the letter. On the 24th, after no response from Mr. Lehmans, another email was sent to inquire about the receipt of the letter. On March 28th, Mr. Lehmans responded via email stating that the letter was received on March 16th. He also confirmed that on April 25th, 2022, that the letter of concern and reference, which is included in the public comments to be addressed at this public hearing. At this time, we are unsure of the status of the study that we have requested. Our members are concerned of this impact that the wastewater treatment plant could potentially have on our drinking water.
And Mr. Hernandez, I hate to interrupt you, but that's 2 minutes. But
Thank you,
if
sir.
you will submit the rest of your, we've got a timer. We're trying to keep it above board. We're trying to give everybody time. Jack Ferguson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Ferguson. I'm proudly in favor of Paradise Valley. I've been saddened to see adults try to stop the development that would be great for the growth of our community and allow hardworking Americans a home, many of whom I've met myself that are excited to live there. I do not understand why anyone would want to discriminate against another person and prevent them from having the chance to have a home in such a beautiful area. If you've enjoyed living in Roland, why is it so hard to let someone else have that experience? It's not like we are asking for anyone to live on your land. It is my father's land that has met every government regulation to be developed and never asked for any variances. To stop this development is against basic property rights in America. I have been saddened to see ADEQ allow an unprecedented 3-time 30-day comment period after my father met every single guideline fair and square. He has gone by your rules. I don't understand why he is forced to suffer after abiding by the rules ADEQ made themselves. I also find it unfair that most of the individuals that live in Roland that are part of this tiny coalition operate their homes on unmonitored septic tanks, not even tracking their effect on the environment. The proposed sewer system for Paradise Valley will be monitored and has met every ADEQ regulation. I've been embarrassed to see adults like Boyd and Lynn Cooley cowardly hide behind a coalition instead of being honest and just making it clear that they do not want neighbors. It was also sad and embarrassing to hear John Killingsworth speak on TV trying to slander my father as a developer when John Killingsworth is not even a developer, has no authority on the matter? Can we not act like adults and abide by the rules that have been made by our government, the rules that we have already met?
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Folks, I understand there are people with opinions on both sides of this issue. I would encourage you to keep your comments relevant to the proposed permit, to not call out folks by name, and let's keep the applause and the demonstrations to a minimum so we can get through this, please. Next, Trish Elliott.
Hi, my name is Trish Elliott, and I am a supporter of the proposed Paradise Valley subdivision. I'll be reading on behalf of Jim Alguire, who is here. I am writing in support of the proposed Paradise subdivision in Roland. I have a hard time understanding those who stand in opposition, other than they want to maintain what they have, although they don't own a view, even though they may have one. They don't own the rights to property that may be adjacent to them or down the road. Someone or some entity owns that property, pays taxes, insurance, and upkeep. Over 20 years ago, there was the start of a major development in West Little Rock called Chenal Valley. I thought it was crazy because how far out it was. Look at it now. Mr. Ferguson bought so many lots, risked his resources, built homes that over the years brought all the development of grocery stores, pharmacies, banks, doctors' offices, schools, Walmart, shopping centers, restaurants, and more. I'm confident that those in opposition use most, if not all, of those amenities. Mr. Ferguson approached me in the late 90s about buying a lot and building a house in Chenal. My initial response was I couldn't afford those big houses out there. He informed me that there was some new neighborhoods being developed down by Highway 10, but still part of Chenal. The houses being built were in the 250 to 350 thousand range. Sounds familiar. I chose Bayonne and bought a lot that backed directly up to the Johnson Ranch, 5-acre estates with big houses and land. Rick built my home and we live there still to this day. I've raised 3 kids there and love it still to this day. We have a diverse, hardworking neighborhood. I am grateful that the Johnson Ranch neighborhood did not organize and stand in opposition to me and my family's ability to share with them what they have. Beautiful, safe, and quiet place to live and raise our family. Kindest regards, Jim Alguire. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that is the point of this, is to accept comments about the permit, and that's what I said earlier. I understand a lot of you have feelings about a lot of issues related to development and other things. Those are not within the purview of DEQ. DEQ is a permitting authority, and these comments today are best directed towards the permit. So, thank you. Theodore Ho.
Good afternoon. I would like to add a personal perspective, though I know my voice echoes of sentiments of many other people. My wife and I moved here from the north last year to be with our daughter, who is a teacher in Little Rock. Our move was made easy by the natural beauty and friendliness of the people we found in Roland. We live at the lot that's next door to where the proposed wastewater treatment plant of Paradise Valley would be built. When it rains, water flows from that lot onto the back of ours. When the rain is heavy, the unnamed creek into which wastewater would be discharged from the plant overflows and runs partially onto our land. The rest continues to flow downstream to our neighbors. The existence of the plant next door to us would destroy the value of our home. The plant, together with the relentless sewer smell that will emanate from the creek, which will now be an open sewer flowing with newly discharged wastewater, will destroy our quality of life. My wife and I are in our mid-70s, closer really to 80 than 70. We both have health and mobility issues. Our future is hostage to the decision you will make. Please don't also make us collateral damage. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Naomi, is it Leon or Ion?
Good afternoon. My name is Naomi Leon, and unlike many others in the community, I desired the opportunity to buy a home in a beautiful community like Roland. And honestly, I'm sorry, I was very excited to see the opportunity come to fruition through the Paradise Valley subdivision, and learning that wealthy individuals in the area are opposed to people like me having such an opportunity makes me feel discriminated against, and that my dollars don't have value to the community, which is very disheartening. Just because I don't have the capacity to build a huge home on a big lot like many neighboring people in the community have been able to. The status associated with the area is known throughout the city. The opportunity to purchase properties under $350,000 are extremely limited. I have tried to find homes in other areas of the city, but if I desire to live in a certain area and there is a project coming in the market that I can purchase, give me the opportunity to purchase in that area. I don't see why my ability to do so. So sorry, I'm overwhelmed. Why does my ability to do so have such profound effect to the existing neighbors? It seems to me that it's a people problem and not an environmental problem. And so I asked, in regards to this permit, why are we really here? And my hopes in this permit, please issue the permit, I guess I'm asking you. That's pretty much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leon. Stephen Schroeder.
Mr. McAllister, in the interest of time, I'll rely on my written submittal. That's all that I can provide.
Thank you, sir. Sarah Garrison. Did I read that right? Garr. Oh, okay.
My name is Sarah Garrison. I prepared what I wanted to say, but now I want to say something different. I am saddened that there is a perception that this is about population. The coalition, to my knowledge, is not against all development. The coalition is in favor of responsible development. And because we're here to talk about sewage treatment, discharge, and stormwater runoff, we're here for environmental reasons. And the rights of the people in place, the rights of Pulaski County residents at large, are equal to the rights of land developers. It's not one or the other. It's how to do it right so that it works for everybody. Those of us in place now and those of us who will soon be joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garrison. Doris Reed.
Doris Reed, 11610 Barrett Road, Roland, Arkansas. So my question would piggyback off the water company. Maumelle Water is a series of wells. And will you guys be doing an impact study is the first question. The second one is I've tried to get a hold of USGS to see how this would impact the water well system. Is there a way that you guys can make that happen? That USGS, I want to know, will chemicals leach into our wells? That's my biggest concern is, will we still have clean water with the chemicals, the amount of effluent sitting in a stagnant bayou? So can you guys have a USGS come and do that? Is that something you can do?
Well, information from USGS would be information that would be considered, I think, as part of the permitting process. Unfortunately, Ms. Reed, this really
Okay.
isn't a question and answer session,
Okay,
but your comments are appreciated. And if you have more comments you want to submit on the record, please do so in writing.
okay, thank you.
That will be considered. Thank you. Doug Reed.
Well, my name is Doug Reed. I live at 11610 Barrett Road, and I'm currently the Justice of the Peace, and I am for private property development. My main concern, though, is the effluent that will be pumped into Mills Bayou and the ramifications and what it might do to our water source. Maumelle Water obtains all of its water from wells in the area. So I'd like to see a study done on environmental impact on the bayou and the water source for 1,400 people, just to be sure that's safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Meredith Hawkins.
Thank you for recognizing me. I'm Meredith Hawkins. I'm Secretary of the Pinnacle Mountain Community Coalition. I've lived in Roland for 8.5 years. The purpose of my comment today is to tie several issues together to demonstrate the three-stage threat that this package treatment plant proposes to our community. The overarching issues here are the fact that the receiving stream is low or no flow. The proposed discharge will likely not meet its permit limits and does not control for endocrine disrupting pollutants, and the proposed discharge is upstream of a drinking water well. Comments on many of these issues exist in the record already, but we hope by discussing them in this manner that the agency will consider all these matters together and deny this permit. Number one, the discharge will pollute Mill Bayou. Number two, those pollutants will transfer to groundwater. Number three, our community drinking water comes from a well downstream of the proposed discharge. I'm submitting with my comments today information from an engineer, a professional geologist, a medical doctor, and an attorney to demonstrate why the agency must deny this permit, the environment, human health, and drinking water. I will quickly summarize that information. First, the discharge to a low or no flow stream will set the stage for groundwater contamination. Professional engineer Rick Barger's letter highlights several issues with the permit terms, including the NH3N, which are too high to protect nearby wells and groundwater. Mr. Barger also points out the cost of treatment is not properly calculated, and the coliform levels will pose a threat to downstream usage. Our attorney previously commented, and we reiterate today, that meeting water quality-based effluent limits in a low or no flow stream is impossible. The discharge pollutants will simply stay put during certain times of year, causing higher and higher concentrations. This treatment plant contains no parameters for endocrine disruptors such as pharmaceuticals and their byproducts, hormones, and heavy metals. These pollutants will end up in Mill Bayou as the treatment plant does not treat for them. Second,
I'm sorry, that's 2 minutes. I do appreciate your
I talked as
comment.
fast as I could.
I know you did, and you had a lot of information.
I've got the written comments.
And please submit the rest of them in writing. Thank you. Jamie Taylor.
Good afternoon. I'm Jamie Taylor. I live at 3108 Pine Street. I'm here to express my support of the development of Paradise Valley subdivision. I'm familiar with issues in court cases pertaining to real estate and have practiced as an expert witness because of my experience in real estate appraisal and in brokering. I'm also a single parent with 2 sons who desires to live in a subdivision just like this. The facts are that we are in an inventory short market. There's economic pressure across housing and construction industries both, and there's a plethora of people just like me seeking homes just like this, making the conditions for the development not just favorable but necessary. Because I'm familiar with these kind of proceedings, I sought out another expert who actually, by the name of Ray Lemming, has personally built wastewater treatment plants as a project manager, who's worked as chief engineer for CNA Surety, and has also been an engineer in charge of construction at the world's largest wastewater treatment plant at the Metro Water Reclamation District in Chicago. I asked him after reviewing this information if a wastewater treatment plant could be at all what it's being made out to be, which is a detriment to Mills Bayou. He stated to me that wastewater treatment plants are designed around minimal environmental impact and that many years have allowed our communities to develop. In light of all this information, I'm inclined to believe that the disagreement we're here about is not regarding the environment, but rather the desire of a group of people discriminating against families like mine, against inevitable development in their community. The very purpose of my being here today is to try and make sure that at least one person points out that home ownership might not be a right, but the right to develop property that you own is. I'm inclined to support a development that will provide an opportunity for me and other people like me to live in an area that we would otherwise not have access to. Outside of expert testimony, I've chosen not to make public comments on one side or another of an issue despite the opportunities to do so. I chose this moment because this comes down to facts. The development is not a massive risk to the environment, but rather to the opposing position, the people that it brings poses a risk to their environment. Whatever decision is made today, I ask you to consider for yourself, what if this was you and your opportunity to provide a first-time home ownership opportunity to your children? What if it was your 2 kids you wanted to show the fruits of your labor to? If it was, I can confirm you'd want the facts to be known and your voice to be heard.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. And your time's up. Christy Eames.
Good afternoon. My name is Christy Eames. I live at 18319 Blackberry Lane in Roland, Little Italy. I'm a great granddaughter of Joseph Bellotti, the founder in 1915. I'm also a volunteer commissioner on the Pulaski County Planning Board. From the beginning, Southwest Equity Investments and its agents is documented to have submitted incomplete, missing, or inaccurate plans to various agencies, or even have failed to contact altogether until told. And this list includes and is not limited to the Pulaski County Planning Board, the ADH, the ADEQ, the United States Army Corps of Engineers. We're a republic, and our freedoms are protected by entrusting our government agencies we've empowered to ensure the law and processes are followed. We're a lawful nation. We don't live in an oligarchy where power is with a privileged few. The community questions how the permit can be squared with ADEQ's processes and stipulations. I submit there are several issues that cannot be reconciled, including the sewage's effect on Maumelle Water Corporation's wells. An impact study is the only responsible action now that ADEQ knows the risk. The ADEQ must take into account the developer's history. Bad actor is an ADEQ's own word and not a personal attack, but rather a comment on performance. And he has entered into a consent administrative order with ADEQ. Entrusting the applicant with running another sewage facility doomed to non-compliance violates ADEQ standards. Don't lower the bar. There can be no second chances. Avoidance is less costly than damage control. The development sewage will always overflow onto other properties and becomes an infringement on their property rights. The ADEQ and FEMA data maps are over 39 years old for this draft permit and therefore inherently flawed. The significant archaeological find must be protected, and the only way to do that is to take the outfall 1 mile
Thank you.
from
Ms.
Mill
Eames.
Bayou. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please deny the permit.
Jim Smith.
I'm hoping that we can, hello, my name's Jim. I live in Roland and have for about 8 years, and I'm hoping we can stop the applauding and booing on both sides so that you guys can make your decision. I'm here, quite frankly, because we moved to Roland because of its quiet beauty and the people that were so welcoming in the community. My family has watched our community change in a way that concerns me. And that change has become very divisive depending on where you land on this development issue. I've watched misinformation become rampant and have been informed of doxing on social media. Posting a picture of a developer's home and giving out an address is simply malicious with the intent of harassing him and his family. I understand that there are differences of opinion, and I respect that. But that doesn't mean we cannot be civil and truthful when we deal with these issues. I'd like to go now directly to an Arkansas Online article dated October 25th of 2021. In that article, and I'm not going to mention names, in that article, Miss X was stated as having moved to Roland for the scenery, animals, and space, as well as a place to anchor her family. It's everything I've ever wanted. It's peaceful, she said. We're trying to protect this, and we don't want development here. I find it curious that some of those claiming it would ruin our community haven't been here very long, and that includes me. Yet it's okay for us to move to Roland, but it's not okay for others to move into smaller homes on smaller lots. From my perspective, we aren't here today because of Mills Bayou, because this all started out as a not in my backyard movement. Mills Bayou had nothing to do with it. You see, there were some that felt that affordable housing would ruin their. Mills Bayou just happened to become an easy vehicle to discriminate against people of different socioeconomic status and nothing more.
Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, that's time. I appreciate your comments.
My writings on file.
And folks, again, I know it's frustrating to have time limits we have to get through the number of commenters we have today. Again, I would encourage you to keep your focus on the permitting issues that are within the agency's authority. Try to avoid repetition. If somebody's already said what you want to say, just make your presence on the record known and present it in writing, and we'll proceed. But we're going to keep moving because I want to get to all of you. So Jeanette Walpole.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeanette Walpole, and I live at 17800 Blackberry Lane in Roland. I too am relatively new to the area, only having been there about 10 years. However, I moved in with someone who's been there for decades. Her name is Dr. Marge Brewster. She's my sister-in-law, and I'm here today speaking on her behalf because she is unable. For years, she was on the water board, and she's at home and shed tears over this because she knows what it's doing. I have also want to comment that I have lived on one of those sewer systems before. It was not in this area, no. It was in Ohio, and it had been well developed, everything like this one is. However, just like the one that's already there, it smelled when you drove past it. You'll be able to smell this. I also saw what happened when they fail, and it cost the neighbors thousands and thousands, and that was in the early 80s. It will be millions now. And I watched the fish actually change after it made its way to the creeks and the river. And we're going to destroy not just us, but we're going to destroy the wildlife that some people depend on, not for just for sport and enjoyment, but for food. We're also going to destroy lots of animals. And I think we ought to take the lesson from California, where they had to reintroduce wolves and things like that to the area, because we destroy the wildlife, and we're going to destroy the wildlife with this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Walpole. Let's see. Barbara Penny.
Hello, I'm Barbara Penny, and I've lived in Roland, kind of in the outskirts of Roland, for 28 years. We've owned property out there for 60 years. I went to the very first meeting of this coalition, and the main thing that was brought up at that meeting was population and how to control the population growth. As these meetings have gone on and on, I think they have found that population is not a very popular reason to not have housing. The reason of the ADHQ and all the water quality, that has come into play simply because there was not enough business going on with the population. I've heard people talk about they couldn't ride their bicycle down Highway 300 if the houses were there. That's to them a terrible, terrible thing. There have been incentives made in this new development for firefighters, for policemen, for nurses, all kinds of incentives, monetary reimbursements for their housing to help people get into homes. It's what people need. They need their homes. The discrimination in this is rampant, in my opinion. Mr. Ferguson has maybe not pleased everybody in the audience, but everybody is not always pleased by everything. He is an excellent builder. He has provided all of the paperwork needed, everything he's been asked for. He's replied and fulfilled every commitment in building. And we would like to see a beautiful, well-made housing development. I don't think Mill Bio is going to be affected one way or the other. there will be things taken care of. And I know there's giggles behind me because they think Mill Bio is a beautiful place and
Ms.
it's
Penny,
not.
Ms. Penny, thank you. That's- Okay, Jennifer Mitchell.
My name is Jennifer Mitchell. I'm a commercial real estate appraiser. I'm very familiar with the area of Roland and the development history. What I'm here to present is factors that I know that will affect the area, such as what I figured out is over the amount of lots permitted in development will increase the tax base to the Pulaski County Special School District by over $500,000 per year. The real estate taxes are also incumbent on where people choose to live. And the taxes in Roland and rural Pulaski County are 28% lower than even the taxes in Chenal. So as it sits right now, there is absolutely a shortage of housing, of new development, particularly in new construction, where people have been priced out of Chenal because pretty much the average price of a new house in Chenal is $400,000 to $500,000 on the average. So this will fill a void in the market where nothing exists now for housings within the market that people can afford in a lower tax base. Also, because it's located in Roland, it is also eligible for rural development financing. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, what? No, and I understand, and I will reiterate, we have limited amount of time. The issues before this agency and for the purposes of this hearing have to do with the proposed permit. I would encourage you to focus your comments on the proposed permit. I understand there are a lot of other issues related to this property and this development that folks are interested in. I'm not saying they're not valid issues or worth consideration, but they're kind of beyond the scope of this proceeding here. Ma'am.
Is it possible to give those people who are speaking about the permit a couple of minutes or a minute? Because we are talking about what the permit will do.
I appreciate that. Again, I'm trying to give everybody a chance to say what they want to say. I'm encouraging you all to focus on the permit if you can, and we're going to keep going as long as we can.
This is a public hearing, correct? So I think that exercising our First Amendment rights and our opinions at this podium is what we're all here to do. If it's not agreeable with everybody about what we say, I'm sorry.
And ladies and gentlemen, please, this is a very specific purpose undertaking pursuant to Pollution Control and Ecology Commission Rule 8.209. Like I said, it's a discrete step in the permitting process. It is for allowing public comments to be made on the permit. I encourage you to please focus on that task so we can get through comments folks have. You are all encouraged, strongly encouraged, to submit your comments, whatever scope and nature, in writing. They will be considered as appropriate in the permitting decision. And again, I'm doing what I can do. I want to get to everybody who wants to have a say and give you a chance to say it. We're going to keep moving on, but I'm going to ask you all to please stay in order. It's not a question and answer session, and let's keep the applause to a minimum. Jermaine Jimenez.
My name's Herman Jimenez, and I'm here in the behalf of voting for the permit on Paradise Valley. I think it's obvious that we want to stick to the permit. If we were sticking to the permit decisions and regulations, what's going on, I think we wouldn't be here because everything had been met already. So we can skip a lot of that part of it. But more than anything, I think this is obvious that there's more to it than the actual pollution involved, because the facts and the information is out there to prove that that's not why we're here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Brock Ferguson.
My name is Brock Ferguson, and I'll keep it short. I kind of echo what Herman just said. The proposed wastewater treatment plant proposed to produce clean effluent into Mills Bayou, and the developer, despite what is said about him being a bad actor, these facilities are monitored full time. We started this process in August of 2020, I believe. Every single thing that's been asked of us has been submitted. We have submitted a plan to put in a wastewater treatment facility that produces clean effluent, and that is what is proposed. Everything that's being said about it being, essentially raw sewage is completely just untrue. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kate Ferguson.
Hi, and because of time, I echo what Robert said.
Thank you. Buddy Greg. Thank you, sir. Deanna Ferguson.
Hi, I'm Deanna Ferguson. I live at 21305 Waterview Drive. I've been blessed to be married to the bad actor, Rick Ferguson, for 30+ years. He is an amazing husband, a dedicated father, a responsible developer with great vision and passion for his work. This is evidenced by many beautiful and environmentally conscious communities he has developed. He is a kind, gentle, generous man that is a humble and a servant leader. The people with negative personal comments have not met him. They have slandered him without knowing his heart. They have put our family's address and pictures of our home out in public, for God only knows for what purpose. I'm actually scared for the safety of my family and home. These things are just simply unacceptable. I'm here to stand up for our property rights, specifically our right to enjoy our property and provide a living for our 7 children. My husband has followed the law and met every requirement to develop our property. I have lived in Roland for 13 years. Everyone should have the opportunity to live in such a beautiful community and not be discriminated against based on their socioeconomic status. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Randall Vandenberg.
My name is Randall Vandenberg, and I live at 23,000 Roland Cutoff Road. I've lived in Roland for over 22 years. And I thank you for affording me the opportunity to express my disapproval regarding the sewer treatment plant being considered for the Paradise Valley subdivision by bad actor, and I will say bad actor, has demonstrated, not said, demonstrated has no concern for the environment. This proposed sewer plant is built directly behind my residence on Roland Cutoff Road. And not once did I receive a courtesy of a notification, even though it borders my property. I fully support property rights, both for the developer. I support property rights for the developer. I support property rights for the homeowner. Let that be clear. What I do not support is when these rights get taken advantage of and cause harm to another person's property, as has and will be demonstrated by others here who also are in opposition to the sewer plant. As I understand it, this bad actor originally got approved by ADEQ for the wastewater discharge from planned Paradise Valley subdivision to be pumped into the existing treatment plant on the other side of 300, which services Waterview Estates. Since this approval, I guess he decided it was too expensive to go to that direction and change his plans without letting ADEQ know. And now we are fighting against this when in fact, ADEQ should immediately rescind any authorization for a new sewer treatment plant behind my house and force him to comply with what was originally approved. There's a myriad of reasons to disallow this new sewer plant. Many of them have or will be pointed out by others here, but this really is simply a common sense issue. It is not discrimination. There is nothing in the conversations that we've had anywhere that says that. I would encourage ADEQ to read the regulations and look at what is actually happening. Come out and look at it, and you will see that the threat discharge poses and the violations representatives would be allowed.
Thank you. That's
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Scott Stubenrausch. And folks, if I mispronounce your name, please, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best with the handwriting and what I can do.
Mr. McAllister, Mr. York, appreciate your time and your attention this afternoon. I'll keep my comments brief. I want to make 4 points. The applicant we're talking about here is currently in possession of a discharge permit for another treatment plant similar to the one that he's requesting now. The applicant's established history of discharge violations in his present plant have earned him the classification as a bad actor. Your classification, not mine. The discharge, that's point number 1. Now, this fact is not in dispute. Point number 2, the discharge from this proposed treatment plant will be to an unnamed tributary of Mill Bayou. This tributary and Mill Bayou itself are wetland. The wetlands are not classified as flowing streams. There is no flow through these streams unless there's a significant rainfall. This fact is not in dispute. The Mill Bayou wetlands are directly above the aquifer from which Maumelle Water Corporation draws our well water for our drinking water. This fact is not in dispute. There has never been a study done to determine the rate of infiltration of Mill Bayou waters, stagnant Mill Bayou waters, on the Maumelle Water Corporation aquifer. This fact is not in dispute. What I ask for you is to delay or deny this permit until such a time as a study is done to assure us and the community at large that our drinking water is safe from infiltration of this discharge from this proposed treatment plant.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Rebecca Davis. Thank you, ma'am. No, I'm sorry. We don't usually give folks 2 swings at the ball here. If you don't want to make a comment, an oral comment, you can submit a written comment, and sir, you can submit the rest of your comments in writing. I'm just trying to be fair to everybody and keep moving on. So, Corrine Smith. Are you back up again? Come on.
I'm Rebecca Davis, and I'm just going to read the last paragraph from the Maumelle Water Court. At this time, we are unsure of the status of the study that we have requested. Our members are concerned of the impact this WWTP could potentially have on their drinking water. Maumelle Water Corporation and its members voted that our expectation of the ADEQ is that the proposed Paradise Valley WWTP will not be approved until ADEQ provides MWC in writing that our aquifer, I can't say that word very well, will not be impacted. MWC requests that we receive a response to this letter and the results of the previously requested impact study prior to the approval of the permit specified above. Thank you.
Thank you. Corrine Smith.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorraine Smith. I've been in Roland for 21 years, and we've never had a problem with Maumelle water until we heard about this treatment center. That's what got me upset. Because if you got a runoff, as these gentlemen, I want to live where they live. And I know you want houses and everything, and I appreciate you all wanting houses in our community because it's just beautiful. But if you go put a treatment center up there and it's gonna overflow into his backyard or my backyard, then there's something wrong with the contractor. And he's the one that needs to be talked to. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ivana Linder.
My family has been in Roland since 1896. We've been living at the same spot for 53 years. There's a ditch that runs from Nowland Street. My address is 21019 Nowland. From Nowland Street, across the railroad track to Nowland Street, from across the railroad track to Beale Street, all back there, we have flooded. We flood, if we get 2 days of rain, it's flooded. Raw sewage runs behind our property. It's 15 houses on both sides of the streets that's affected by this raw sewage. I have been trying for 13 years to have somebody to come out and see what they can do about the property, see what they can do about this. My concern is we already got raw sewage, and let it be known that I welcome everybody to Roland. You're supposed to live where you want to live. We love to have the neighbors, but what is this plan? How is this plan going to affect us? Is it going to be good for us or bad for us? Because we're already experiencing problems. And so that's just my statement. I welcome everybody to Roland. You're supposed to live where you want to live, but is there a way, I'm like Sarah Garrett, is there a way we can do this right where everybody can live together and there won't be any problems, because we welcome everybody to Roland. So
Thank you, Ms. Linder. Brandon Scucci.
So I'd like to thank you guys for, offering a proper comment period, taking the time of the day to meet with everybody. My family and I recently moved to Roland in August last year. Moved here for a safe and clean place to raise our family, basically. We enjoyed the beauty of it. We enjoyed the natural wildlife of it. After our move, we started hearing about the water sewage plant. We jump into a local bayou that's behind my house where my kids play. Later, we learned about the large development plan, and then we learned there was going to be two potential water treatment plants with 300 or 400 houses with this. So, and it's pumping into this bayou. That's a major concern for me as a father, community, a citizen of Roland, and my kids who are going to be drinking this water from the ground. As any concerned person, we're looking for a 100% safe and clean guarantee. I think that's what we're all here for, right? I also find it funny that right in front of the bridge that crosses Mill Bayou, there's a sign that says protected, water protection area. They're in Roland when you drive through. It's right by the Mills Bayou. So I think that kind of says it all. That is why we're here. We're here for our families, the wildlife, the beauty of the place. There's a right way and a wrong way to do this. I think we're all looking for that right way. Allowing sewage water project like this to soak into the ground, that obviously the water that supplies Roland drinks from. There's also been an issue in the news before. It's called Flint, Michigan. Been a water issue there, a little small one that popped up in the news. I think a few of you heard about that. So I think we got opportunity to make that right decision in meetings like this is where that's decided as. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Matthew Springer.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having the opportunity to speak, and we all appreciate the work you do maintaining our environment. A lot of the points I was going to make have already been said, but I want to start off by saying I've heard the word discrimination used a few too many times, and it's irritating. Furthermore, the original permit, that's what I'm here to speak about, was basically submitted under the light of the moon. It was full of omissions. and errors. And that's why this hearing was rescheduled. For that reason. We all know that treatment plants can and will fail. And I'm just going to read one of my paragraphs. Placing a wastewater treatment facility that will essentially discharge into a ditch that is either mostly or partially dry when it's not raining, or overflowing water when it is irresponsible and dangerous. The discharge will have nowhere to go when it is not raining and will conversely go everywhere when it is. This will affect many properties surrounding the bayou. We are being led to believe that some unnamed tributary will receive the discharge, which efficiently feed that into the Mill Bayou, which promptly takes the water off somewhere down the Arkansas River. That's not how our water system works in Roland. Using our delicate bayou for the sewage plant is a slap in the face to every person and creature that lives near it or depends upon it for life. This is not in keeping with the ADEQ's mission, which I have here, for protecting the water, the land from pollution. Thank you very much. And I give you my address, right?
Sorry?
My address?
It's on your card.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Nicholas Valdez.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicholas Valdez. I live at 23407 Rolling Cutoff Road. I am currently operating 2 manufacturing facilities that build water, wastewater pump stations. So I would consider myself an expert in the degree of water, wastewater. I submitted the specifications, plans, and plans for the wastewater treatment plant to my team. Upon their review, we have several questions. They're in a written document that I submitted. But I'd just like to make a few comments for the ADEQ. I hold it your responsibility to protect us as citizens from pollution. I also hold it your responsibility to protect the environment from any ecological disasters, damages, or concerns that the public may or may not be aware of. Upon the review of the specification for the wastewater treatment plant, there are many gaps within the proposed permit that I feel the ADQ should investigate and due diligence be a part of your approach. One is around maintenance, monitoring, and operation of the system. The proposed treatment facility's proposed operator is not up to date on current standards. The smell, the sludge, the discharge, off-gassing, and handle of the solids is all part of the ADEQ's responsibility. And I would propose that you also entertain, investigating the backup generator, because systems do fail and the electricity does go out. And if the backup generator is not subsequent to handle said treatment plant, then it will not operate at optimal conditions. And that will subsequently, thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's time. I appreciate your comments. Dr. Dale Carter.
I'm going to allow other folks to talk because you pretty much touched on all the things that I was going to say.
Thank you.
For allowing us to have a voice.
Thank you. Richard Millerick. Did I say that right?
I'm going to yield my time, except that for all the treatment plant facility discussions that we've had, I think they're right on that. Apparently it started with the first one using the wastewater plant off of 300. We are now in a second one, which I'm a little confused about, but if the first one is working somewhat, except for the violations, I think we should stick with the first one as that was submitted. Why we're here now, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. We've been at this about an hour. I don't know if we're halfway through the stack yet, but we're going to keep forging ahead. Again, if we can avoid unnecessary duplication That'll help us get on through. I appreciate all of your patience so far. Barbara Henley.
Thank you. I'm here to read a letter that's actually from the Osage Nation Historic Preservation Office. And they have given me permission to be able to read this to you today at this public hearing. It is dated May 18th of 2022. The Osage Nation has a vital interest in protecting its historic and ancestral cultural resources and considers the preservation of its history and culture to be its highest priority. The Osage Nation Historic Preservation Office has been charged by the Osage Nation to preserve and protect the Osage heritage. Historic preservation efforts often require collaboration between multiple agencies at federal, state, and local levels of jurisdiction. Interest of Osage people extend beyond the modern reservation boundaries in Osage County, Oklahoma, and ancestral territories in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, and stretches into the Ohio River Valley. The Arkansas River Valley is a unique landscape requiring consideration when preserving the heritage of many Native American tribes, including the Osage Nation. Former villages, trails, burials, or locations of sacred activities are recorded throughout the region, resulting in inadvertent effects to the properties as projects are undertaken. When urban development is planned to accommodate rising populations, environmental and cultural effects must be considered. The National Historic Preservation Act, or NHPA, clarifies that historic properties may have religious and cultural significance to American Indian tribes. Additionally, Section 106 of NHPA requires federal agencies to consider the effects of their actions on historic properties, as does the National Environmental Policy Act. The Osage Nation Historic Preservation Office evaluated the proposed project Paradise Valley Wastewater Treatment Plant in Pulaski County, Arkansas, and requested ADEQ that a cultural resources survey be conducted.
I'm sorry, ma'am, that's time, but please feel free to submit the rest of the comments in writing. Eric Linsing.
Oh, sir, I respectfully ask what I would say.
Thank you, sir. You're noted as a commenter on the record. You can submit them in writing if you wish. Christina Centofonte.
You have no idea what comes in the mail.
Even if a blind pig even finds an acre. Go ahead, ma'am.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about my concerns. I'm a resident and a property owner, and I live next to the development. The sewage treatment facility will be across the street from me. I flood from the stormwater runoff because the property is clear cut. And I have many concerns about the validity of the permit, the financial responsibility of the developer, and the effects of this development will have on our water and our environment. I reviewed the initial permit and found it to be missing pertinent information. There's no indication in the disclosure section, pages 87 to 95, whether he has disclosed before or not. There's nothing attached to the original permit. So when I was looking on the ADEQ site, I could not see where the original permitting came from. So there's no disclosure information. My concern is the developer's financial ability to maintain this sewage facility for the 5 years. The information, there's no information on questions 12 and 13 amended to the permit application. These questions ask who owns the applicant money and who the applicant owns money to. With the pandemic, many businesses suffered financial changes in their status. We have no idea what the current financial status of the applicant is. Community needs to know if he's going to be able to finance this treatment facility. ADEQ had to remind the applicant twice to renew his current treatment permit. If the applicant is negligent on renewing his permit, how can we trust that he will do his obligation on another sewage facility? Not opposed to development, but I don't support urban style developments that rely on these type of facilities. And
they failed because of poor maintenance. So I asked you to deny this permit on all the unanswered questions
Ma'am,
and information on this application.
That's time.
Thank you. Please
Thank
deny it. Sorry.
Al Drinkwater.
I have a lengthy comment that I will submit in writing, but I want to go over a few brief points to kind of summarize. This facility, this wastewater treatment plant, is being proposed to be located in the wrong spot. It was originally proposed to be located over on Mill Bayou where there's flow, there's plenty of water, it's a full-time stream. That would be great. Where they're at, it's a dry stream much of the year. The 110Q and the 710Q flows are both zero. Very difficult to deal with. Below that, just a matter of very short distance, you run into wetlands, flooded wetlands much of the year, perhaps as much as 7 to 9 months, 10 months out of the year. It's a flooded wetlands. So you've got accumulation. So it's very definitely the wrong place. The criterion continuous concentration required by the U.S. Clean Water Act is a multi-day average concentration of pollutant in ambient water that should not be exceeded more than once every 3 years on average. The criterion is used to protect aquatic life forms and from chronic effects based on zero flow for the 110Q and the 710Q. It does not appear that it's possible to permit the proposed wastewater treatment plant without violating the water standards, which include fishable, swimmable, etc. So there's real problems there. Ammonia concentrations, you're looking at a 5.6 in April, 5.0, and 10 milligrams for November through March for the permit. The U.S. EPA recommended level for chronic ammonia in ambient fresh water at 7 pH, 20 degrees centigrade, 1.9 milligrams per liter. During low flow or no flow conditions, the proposed wastewater discharge will certainly cause exceedances in the water quality standards.
Mr. Drinkwater, that's time. Thank you for your comments, and you can submit the rest of it. Claire Ferguson.
Hello, I'm the proud daughter of Rick Ferguson. I'm speaking in honor of him. His overall goal in this industry is to help others to have a better quality of life. Living in a land of opportunity, people deserve to have quality housing, and it's my father's passion to provide this for those who want it. After following all the regulations and legal requirements, I'm in favor of Paradise Valley and against the discrimination of the coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe the whole Ferguson clan's here. Allie Ferguson.
Hi, my name is Allie Ferguson. I live in Waterview Estates in Roland, Arkansas. I just want to say that I am for this subdivision, Paradise Valley, and that I'm not, or no, that I am against the discrimination of this coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob Steinbuck.
Hi, my name is Robert Steinbuck. I don't live in the area. I live in Little Rock. I'm a law professor. I appear in my personal capacity. And this debate, of course, is about externalities. Of course, we recognize property rights and we enjoy them of both parties. And the question is whether the externality of this sewage treatment plant will damage the other people's properties. I don't have the answer to that question. But unlike where I live in Little Rock, where we dump into the river and it's a huge mass of water that can accommodate extra pollutants, my concern is about this area that has no margin for error. So I'm not an environmentalist and I'm not a builder either. I'm the worst. I'm a lawyer. So, but what I ask, as are you, sir, so we share in that ignominy. But I nonetheless ask you to make sure that when you evaluate this, you recognize that unlike in Little Rock, there is no margin for error here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Carrie Kessler.
I'm Carrie Kessler, and I have lived in Roland for 40 years. So first of all, I'd like to say that I am in favor of responsible development. I'm in favor of people, affordable housing and people being able to move to Roland. That is not my problem at all. I am concerned about the environment. And I appreciate your agency. I appreciate the work that you do in allowing this permit, but I ask that you would deny it. I would also like to comment on the Osage Nation Historic Preservation Office evaluated the proposed Paradise Valley wastewater treatment plant and has requested ADEQ that a cultural resources survey be conducted. The project area is a highly sensitive and significant location with sacred burial sites. Permitting the project without archaeological investigations could be disastrous to the preservation of culture and result in a direct violation of Arkansas Unmarked Burial Act. Due to high potential for site desecration, the Osage Nation has engaged in direct government-to-government consultation with the EPA, State of Arkansas, and anticipates future consultation with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Osage Nation is grateful for the opportunity to comment to ADEQ on the anticipated undertaking. Prior to any development, Osage Nation Historical Preservation Office anticipates reviewing and commenting on the planned Phase 1 Cultural Resource Survey report for the proposed Paradise Valley wastewater. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Robert Walker. Robert Walker, okay. He might be in the overflow room. Can somebody go check if Mr. Walker's in the overflow room, and we'll put him aside for a minute. Senator Mark Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. McAllister, for the job you're doing. I support property rights. I think that's the first right in our Constitution, the state of Arkansas. But property rights cut both ways. I was involved in a similar issue to this several years ago in the Fletcher Creek area when someone was trying to put in a higher density development and it required a similar package treatment plant. I spent a lot of time studying the technology and frankly, the results of how these things, when they're maintained properly, work, and when there's a problem, how they don't work, creating pollution into nearby streams. The fact that this is so far away, as Mr. Steinbach and Mr. Drinkwater described, it does create unique situations. I've always been concerned about these package plants. I've certainly encouraged Mr. Ferguson and his company to develop our area in an orderly manner. I support development, the right kind of development in our area, but when you threaten the safety of pollution or people that live in this area, it's very concerning to me. My district does include this area in Roland, and I want to speak on behalf of constituents that have reached out to me with their concerns. But having had personal experience with similar development, I do have some expertise that I wanted to share, that this is something that you need to be a little more careful with simply because of the sensitivity to this kind of area. Thank you for the job you do and for serving our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for your time. Did Mr. Walker make it? Your turn, sir.
I'm Robert Walker. You guys stuck me in the back room. In other states with stricter rules, more concern for the residents and citizens, there would never be a hearing like that. The developer would be flat out told, no, you can't do this. This is dangerous. No. Now, these plants break. Eventually, everything breaks. And if there's not a crew, 24/7 man in a sewage plant, there's going to be a lot of problems. Raw sewage means waterborne diseases. This is dangerous. It's dangerous to the present residents and the neighborhood that will be developed from this. They won't be able to handle it. Now, I have no problems with the developer wanting to develop a place where they can connect to a real sewer treatment plant that discharges into a real stream. That's great. This is a bad idea, and it's up to you to protect the present and future residents of this area. Really simple. And other states have stricter rules, and you wouldn't even have to have this hearing, but it's up to you to protect everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Emma Hutchinson.
I'll pass for time, but I just want to say that I agree with everything that's been said on behalf of Ferguson, and I support these.
Thank you. Will Kaufman.
My name is Will Kaufman, and I'm in favor of receiving a permit for the subdivisions Paradise Valley. Rick Ferguson has met all the requirements from the DEQ, and it's not fair for him to not be able to build on land. I'm for everything Rick Ferguson does. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Victoria Best.
My name is Victoria Best, and I'm an intern architect seeking my licensure and my LED sustainability certification. I'm in favor of Rick Ferguson receiving a permit for this subdivision, and I myself desire to live in this neighborhood as he has met all the requirements from the ADEQ. Rick Ferguson is a good man, and while he may be what you consider to be a bad actor, this is not a matter of acting. He cares about bettering the lives of others, and that includes developing homes for people who have a right to them, as well as keeping the water clean for the people living in the surrounding area. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Abby Ferguson? Abby.
I'm Abby Ferguson, daughter of Rick Ferguson. I'm in favor for receiving a permit for Paradise Valley, providing this priced housing, but I'm against the coalition of people who don't want others to live here. I also find it unfair for people to tell my father what to do with his land, especially when he has met all the requirements and regulations from DEQ. It also is disheartening that this opportunity could be taken away from people with incentives such as firefighters, police officers, nurses, etc., for the social culture status. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Antoine Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. McAllister. Antoine Phillips, attorney at Wright, Lindsay and Jennings, attorney on behalf of the corporation and the development who's seeking the permit. Use my 2 minutes to do a few things. Kind of want to respond to some of the comments made, one of which is, how do we do this right? And the right way to do things is follow the rules that are in front of you. My client has followed all ADEQ or DEQ protocols. In fact, in the DEQ second tentative approval of this permit, it says, and I quote, Paradise Valley Subdivision Wastewater Treatment Plant submitted an application on September 2nd, 2020, with all additional information received by January 18th for the issuance of the EMPDES permit number 53210. All additional information has been received. That's DEQ's words in their own permit. So the comments about the bad actor and the degradation related to the effluent, those issues are DEQ issues. And those issues have been presented and responded to by my client. And per DEQ's own words, all that information is in your possession to make the decision to confirm the tentative permit as it currently stands. Also want to talk about very briefly some other things that have been said today. One person said, be very careful with this process. Well, I think you have been very careful. there have been 3 30-day comment periods: July of August 21, October of August 21, and March of 2002. Under Regulation 8, which you're familiar with, Mr. McAllister, it states you get 1 30-day period with a 20-day extension. But we've had 3 30-day periods over a course of years. And even at this point, there hasn't been any information set forth that should give DEQ any reason not to grant this permit. Also want to point out.
Interrupt you, Mr. Phillips. That's the 2 minutes.
Yep, absolutely.
But thank you for your comments and please submit the rest in writing if so desired.
I have done so. Thank you, Mr. McAllister.
Thank you. Doug Ford.
Well, my name's Doug Ford, and I work for Rick Ferguson as a consultant. Thank you for this time. Thank you for the process. DEQ has a process and procedures in place to protect human health and environment. The plans were not reviewed overnight. They were reviewed by multiple professionals. DEQ professionals are capable, trained, and excellent staff. And it's reviewed by multiple folks, not only ADQ, but the Arkansas Department of Health reviewed these plans and approved these plans. I believe that concerns of the water, Maumelle water, can be resolved. In Reg 6, y'all's reg, Rule 6, I guess y'all call it now, it has provisions for losing streams. I do not believe that Mill Bio is a losing stream. So that can be followed up later. Low flow concerns, I believe those can be addressed as well. I believe ADQ staff developed the draft permit based on low flow concerns. They're very capable. They know what they're doing, and they look at all angles before they don't go into it slightly. They issue draft permits based on all facets of the environment and all concerns. We're confident that the process has been followed. We thank you for following that process. We're here today because of that process. We have a great state, and our state rules have been followed in this case. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Rick Ferguson.
Thank you, gentlemen. Pretty much everything's been said. To Antoine's point, I don't know what rules these people want me to go by. They're rules, I get that. That's subjective. There's no way I could ever do what they want, what's reasonable or rational or something developing. I have to go by the rules, and I've heard these professionals. This is Joe White right here, my civil engineer, that's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the best engineering firm that has a history of 50, 60 years in developing around here. When everybody keeps saying responsible, if he would do it right, well, sir, the only rules I have to go by are your rules. These people make it out like I make up my own rules as I go, just how I wake up. This has been a long, arduous process, very, very costly. And this is irrational for these people to get up here and act as if I go by my own. I have to go by yours, the health department. You know all this, and this is redundant. But anyway, last thing I'd like to say is, I'm probably not worthy of some of the kind words my children and friends said, but my passion really is for, and I believe there's a market need for people in this 250, 350, whatever price range. And I believe that they deserve the right, just like anybody else does, to live here. There's several people that said they just moved here, and it's perfect once they moved here. So anyway, I've probably taken my time. Thank you for hearing this. Thank you for what you did.
Kimberly White. Kimberly White.
I agree with the permit. I good for my time.
Thank you. Joe White.
That was ironic, but good stacking of the cards.
I'm going to be brief. I'm speaking in favor of the permit. I've done civil engineering work for Mr. Ferguson for over 25 years, and he has done some fantastic projects. And he always tries to do it right, and he always tries to follow the rules. And in this case, he has followed the rules. And Mr. Ford just said it up to that point, nobody else had said it, but he has already received approval from the Arkansas Department of Health. So he has gone the steps, and I believe he's met all your requirements as well. I also want to speak personally as a landowner. I own 200 acres just west of this development that overlooks the lake. And it concerns me when someone meets all the requirements and they come before the ADQ and the health and they can't get the approval because they've got a coalition against them. I believe in property rights, just like they do. They want to use their property the way they want to use it. He wants to use his, I want to use mine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Max Hicks.
I will rely on my written comments.
Thank you, sir. Miranda Moore.
My name is Miranda Moore. I'm also speaking on behalf of my husband Clayton. We live at 17020 West Road in Roland. We have 67 acres and approximately 40 is wooded wetlands. Upstream, just several hundred yards from where the initial discharge will be. We strongly oppose the Paradise Valley Sewage Treatment Facility on Roland Cutoff Road and respectfully ask that the ADQ deny the permit. The treatment plant is irresponsible and an inappropriate use of Mill Bayou. The effluent will not empty into a flowing stream, but rather a stagnant, boggy wetland. There's livestock that live on the banks of Mill Bayou, horses, pigs, cows. Mill Bayou floods terribly and will send the treated sewage into spaces it was not intended to be, coming into contact with people and animals. Mill Bayou crosses our pasture also, and when it floods, which is quite often, the flooding doesn't just recede back into its banks, but it absorbs into our land. Much of our property is wooded wetlands with Mill Bayou winding through it. Within it is a wonderful ecosystem to an abundance of wildlife that rely on this bayou for their water source, food, and shelter. An abundance of ducks swim and feed in its pools. Harmful contaminants would only cause algal blooms and choke out fish and food sources. The discharge would only pool in our wetlands until the next flood because there is no to very little flow.
It's more that's time. Thank you for your comments. Please
Thank
submit
you.
the rest in writing. Kay Motzinger. Did I get that right? Kay Motzinger. Ah.
My name is Kay Motzinger, and let me get my breath. I'm sorry. Tomorrow will be the anniversary of surgery and radiation for lung cancer 37 years ago. So this is the residual. So please overlook that, okay?
Understood.
Just give me a chance to get my breath. I was standing out there and I couldn't hear all of the comments of the other person, but I'm suspicious that I'm about ready to talk about the same thing. I'm not sure. Maybe even she may be the one I'm talking about. What I'm concerned about is the water from the treatment plants draining into the the Mill Bayou. And she may be the one that has pastures on one side with horses, and on the other side of the bayou is a landowner with just a large yard. Sorry. When it rains, it tends to flood in those areas. And recently, we drove by after some rains, and there was a horse standing in the water. What got my attention even more so was the horse was drinking the water. And with all the talking we've done about the sewage treatment plants draining into the Mill Bayou, I could just see that horse drinking that contaminated water. Then I thought of all the other creatures that drink from that water, you know, along there, deer, squirrels.
And Ms. Motzinger, I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's
Well-
time. I tried to give you a little extra from your
Sorry.
slow start. That's quite all right.
Well, let me just say, my point is having sewage drain into that poses far-reaching health consequences to wildlife, the community, and to the environment.
Thank you for your comment. John Killingsworth.
I'm John Killingsworth. My address is P.O. Box 84 in Roland. This permit must be denied. The wastewater treatment plant poses significant short-term and long-term health risk for the people of Roland and will likely cause significant damage to Mill Bayou and its environment. These impacts are totally avoidable by the denial of the permit. I'm not opposed to development in the Roland area, but I am opposed to development that causes health risks to the people that live there. There's strong community opposition to the Paradise Valley wastewater treatment plant because it is an obvious health hazard. 50,000 gallons per day of sewer water dumping into a creek bed that is dry or non-flowing much of the year is obviously a dangerous thing to do. The people of Roland see this obvious danger and will remain loud and vocal in our opposition to it to assure that it doesn't happen. Mr. Danny Hernandez has already covered the Maumelle Water Corporation letter, but I wanted to read one sentence, and I appreciate Rebecca Davis also. This will be a repeat, but Maumelle Water stated, "Our expectation of ADEQ is that the proposed Paradise Valley wastewater treatment plant will not be approved until ADEQ provides Maumelle Water Corp in writing that our aquifer will not be impacted." Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ashton Springer.
I am in full support of the comments that have already been made on behalf of Rick Ferguson, as I am confident he will continue to follow the rules and regulations out in place by the DEQ as he regularly, without fail, has already done. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Kimberly Stickley.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Stickley. I live at 20902 Crib Street in Roland proper. And I represent the less affluent people of the community. My children too would like to move out to that area, can't afford a $500,000 house, but they also don't want to move to an area where we're being toxic to the environment. So I'm a voting member of the Maumelle Water Company, and I'm concerned. There's not been an impact study done. And I think that's just, it has to be done. It's best practice, it's evidence practice. And as a person that lives there, I have a right to have that done. I'm not against development, but I am for best practice. There is a potential precedent that's going to be set by this, because we know this is not the only one. There's going to be lots of development going on out there, and we need to make sure that we do it right from the beginning. We've already got wastewater treatment being dumped into Mill Bayou right now, and a storm drainage system, and that's actually impacting us negatively already. So now we're wanting another one, and then potentially right behind that another one, and then another one and another one. And when's this going to end? So if we're going to do it, let's do it right. I talked to the Arkansas Department of Health, and they did tell me that the system itself is not a problem. The science behind the management works. The problem is the management of it. This is not just in the state of Arkansas. We do have problems already in the northern part of the state with these systems, but it's in Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. You can find lawsuits all over the place. So I'm asking that we do due diligence and that we do what we need to do before we say, yeah, let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Julia Hutchinson.
Hi, my name is Julia Hutchinson, and I would like to say that I'm in favor of the permit that has already met all the requirements for the subdivision Paradise Valley, and stand by all the comments that have been made on behalf of Rick Ferguson.
Thank you. All right, that has gotten us through our comment cards, and is really completes the process we were here for today. I want to encourage you again to supplement, submit your comments in writing. I think they passed out a slip of paper with an email address on it to do that. If you didn't get one, I will try to read it to you, but you'd be better off taking a picture of your neighbors if they have that slip. It's water-draft-permit-comment at adeq.state.ar.us. And when you submit that,
You said dash comment, but on the sheet, it doesn't have a dash.
water-draft-permit-comment. That's what I got. That's what they told me. So the lady in the hot pink jacket is the one with the slips. Now, let me also please remind you that pursuant to our administrative procedure in Rule 8, if you have made timely comments on the permitting record, which by appearing here today, submitting comment card, making a comment, or by submitting your comments in writing, you will have done. Procedurally, that gives you opportunity to be able to appeal the permitting decision if you're so inclined when it's eventually made. But we've got steps to go to get there. You will be notified as a commenter of the permitting decision when it's made. If you have questions about process and procedure for DEQ permitting activities, I encourage you to look at Rule 8 on our website. Yes, and like I said initially, part of staff's duties, part of their requirements in making the permitting decision is to prepare a response to comments that is part of the final permitting decision. So that will happen at that time. Now, if you're wondering about the mechanics of whether or how to submit your comments in writing, just just to be clear and to give everybody an opportunity. As the presiding officer, I have the authority to extend the comment period beyond the end of the hearing at 4 o'clock. Just to give you all time to get home and send your emails if you want. I'm going to extend your period to submit a written comment until midnight on Friday. Okay? That way, everyone has had a chance to say what they want to say. That was the point of this. I have done my best as a presiding officer to give you all an opportunity to make your comments. Pardon me? Pardon me? I'm saying I will accept written comments until midnight on Friday, just to make sure that everybody has a chance to get their comments on the record. Thank you all for your interest, for your participation, and for allowing us to have an orderly meeting. Thanks very much. We are adjourned.
Recording stopped.
Part of my